Good morning, students. Now, classification of synovial joints. Synovial joints will have typical characteristic features. So, what are the characteristic features of synovial joints? The first feature of synovial joint is the synovial joints will have a joint cavity which will have presence of synovial fluid. So, joint cavity with the presence of synovial fluid. Second important feature of synovial joints will be these joints, the articular margins, the articular surfaces are covered by articular cartilage. So therefore, there will be covering of articular cartilage on the articulating surfaces, that is the two ends of the bones. The two ends of the articulating bones which come in approximation with synovial joint, which form the synovial joint, their articular surfaces are covered by articular cartilage. So therefore, there are 5 distinct features, but in order to understand these 5 features, let us also draw this very important diagram. Now, this diagram is of a synovial joint. Now here, these are the two bones which form the synovial joint. For example, if we take this cross sections of femur and tibia which form the synovial joint, lower end of the femur and upper end of tibia, their articular surfaces are covered by articular cartilage. So therefore, the articular cartilage which I am going to show, this is the articular cartilage which is covering the two articular surfaces. So therefore, now this is the articular cartilage on one side and this is the articular cartilage on the other side, that is the opposite side. And note down, the articular cartilage on the lower end of the femur will be, for example, here it is convex. Similarly, the articular cartilage here is concave. So in short, wherever these synovial joints are there, rather any bone, let it be instead of femur and tibia, let it be humerus and ulna and radius, whatever synovial joints are there, their articular surfaces of the two opposing bones will always be covered by articular cartilage. So therefore, here we mark this as articular cartilage. Now what was the first characteristic feature? Synovial fluid. So therefore, here this cavity which is present, this joint cavity is the synovial joint cavity in which there is presence of synovial fluid. So here inside there is presence of synovial fluid. These are the two characteristic features. Now third characteristic feature. If you consider the third characteristic feature, the entire synovial joint is covered by articular capsule. Please note down, this is articular cartilage, this is articular capsule. So the entire synovial joint is covered by articular capsule, which is divided into two parts, the outer fibrous capsule and the inner synovial membrane. So therefore, now if we like to show the outer fibrous capsule and inner synovial membrane, here we will show this orange color which I have drawn. This is the fibrous capsule, and deep inside, blue color which I am marking, this is the synovial membrane. This will be the synovial membrane. The inner surface of the fibrous capsule will be synovial membrane. So therefore, now here I can mark this as, this will be the fibrous capsule and the inner synovial membrane. So both of these, they form articular capsule. So the synovial joints are covered by articular capsule, which is composed of fibrous capsule and inner synovial membrane. Now fourth feature, we come here, so this is the fourth feature, ligaments. The articulating bones which form synovial joint, they are joined by various ligaments. And these ligaments, there are so many numerous ligaments across knee joint, elbow joint, all the synovial joints. The articulating bones, the articulating ends are joined by various ligaments. Ligaments form an important feature of synovial joint. And the last feature, sometimes the synovial joints are divided by complete division or incomplete. They are completely or incompletely divided by presence of articular disc or meniscus. So therefore, there will be presence of articular disc or meniscus, which will divide the synovial joint into two compartments. So this articular disc or meniscus can be in this way. This can be either articular disc or meniscus, which will divide the synovial joint into two compartments. So therefore, here we can name this as the articular disc or meniscus. So based upon this articular disc or meniscus, the entire joint is divided into upper and lower compartments. Now, these are the characteristic features of the synovial joint. All these five are characteristic features of synovial joint. We start with number one, the joint cavity which has the presence of synovial fluid. Number two, it will have the presence of articular cartilage which will cover the articular surfaces of the synovial joint. Number three, it will have presence of the entire synovial joint is covered by articular capsule. And this articular capsule is divided into outer fibrous and inner synovial membrane. Then we will have the presence of ligaments. There will be certain ligaments which will connect the articulating ends of the bones which form the synovial joint. And in the last we have articular disc or meniscus. There will be presence of articular disc or meniscus which will divide the synovial joint into two compartments. These are the typical features of synovial joints across our human body. Now based upon these features, we will classify the synovial joints into various categories in a flow chart. Therefore, now the classification of synovial joints, accordingly we will make a flow chart. So I will need some space here, I will rub here, and then we will classify the entire synovial joints of our human body. And that classification will be based upon two factors. The entire classification is based upon two factors. First, this is the classification of synovial joints. So this is the classification of synovial joints. First, the first classification is based upon articulating bones, number of articulating bones. Second classification will be based upon the axis of movement. Second classification is based upon axis of movement. So therefore, this is the general classification of synovial joints. Remember, sometimes you are asked a short note on synovial joints where you have to classify and present this flow chart. So our classification of synovial joints, which is very important, is divided in two basic categories according to number of articulating bones and according to the axis of movements. Now first, according to number of articulating bones. So here we will have three basic categories. And those three basic categories of number of articulating bones. First, simple joint. What is this simple joint? When two bones are there in articulation, only two bones. they form an articulation, they form the synovial joint. For example, simple joint example. The example will be interphalangeal joints of the digits present in the hand and feet. This is the example. Simple joint. Only two bones are coming in articulation. So interphalangeal joints of the digits. Simple joint. Second classification will be compound joint. In compound joint, there will be more than two bones coming in articulation. More than two bones, and they are covered by a common capsule. They are covered by common capsule. When more than two bones are forming articulation, the joint, synovial joint, and when they form, they are covered by common capsule. They are called compound joints. Example. The example of compound joints will be, they are the presence of ankle joint, please note down, ankle joint and wrist joint. So wrist joint is also known as radiocarpal joint. Ankle joint and radiocarpal joint, that is wrist joint. These two come under the category of compound joint. When more than two bones are in articulation and they are covered by common articular capsule. Third variety, complex joint. Remember, complex joint. What is complex joint? When the entire joint is divided into two cavities by articular disc or meniscus, which I had shown you in the earlier diagram. When the entire joint is divided by articular disc or meniscus into two different cavities, then it is known as complex joint. Give examples. Where are the complex joints present in our human body? They are, the complex joints which are present in human body will be, number one, knee joints. So the knee joint is an example of complex joint. Similarly, there will be another example, sternoclavicular joint. Joint between clavicle and sternum. Because these joints, knee joint and sternoclavicular joint, they are divided by articular disc or articular meniscus into two cavities. So it forms complex joint. Here we finish the classification of synovial joints based upon number of articulating bones. Simple joints, compound joints and complex joints. And we have to mention the examples also. This is how you have to write the short note, describing each of the joints and giving these examples. Now we go to axial joints. Please come on this side. We will take this entire board. So therefore now, classification of synovial joints based upon the axis of movements. Axis. So this classification is based upon what is the axis, or what are the axes. Singular is and plural are. So depending upon the axis of movements, we divide this into, what is the axis? One axis, uniaxial. So uniaxial joints. This is a single axis. Here the joints will rotate around a single axis only. So they are called uniaxial joints based upon the axis of movements. So what is the axis? Uniaxial, single axis. Then we come across to, what are the axes? Then these are the axes, biaxial, two axes. So therefore these joints are biaxial joints. Biaxial joints based upon two axes of movement. Third category, polyaxial joints. That means they will move around three different axes, polyaxial joints. And the last category, plane joints. This is the last category, plane joints, where they will exhibit gliding type of movements. So therefore, now this classification of synovial joints based upon the axis of movements, uniaxial, biaxial, polyaxial and plane variety. Now, very important, each uniaxial, biaxial, polyaxial, we have to classify. So therefore, first we classify uniaxial. So let us classify the uniaxial joint. Uniaxial joint means single axis they will move around the transverse axis or they will move around the vertical axis, but only one axis is there. And uniaxial joints, they will provide flexion extension or they may provide rotational movement, but on a single axis. These uniaxial joints will have articulating surfaces. The articular margins will be convex in one direction and opposing articular surfaces will be reciprocally concave. Varieties. So these varieties will be, number one, the first category, it is known as hinge or gyngimus. Please note down, because this is often asked as MCQs. Hinge joint or gyngimus. G-I-N-G-L-Y-M-U-S, gyngimus. Hinge or gyngimus variety of uniaxial joint. Second will be, this is also very important, pivot, P-I-V-O-T, or trochoid. This is also asked in one more question answer. Trochoid, T-R-O-C-H-O-I-D. Trochoid is other name of pivot variety. And the third variety of uniaxial, third variety is condylar joint. So, condylar joint. These are the three basic joints, these are the three basic varieties coming under uniaxial. What are these three basic varieties? Hinge joint or gyngimus. Then pivot joint or trochoid, and condylar joint. Now hinge variety. As I told you, hinge variety, the articulating surfaces will be, the upper articulating surface is convex and the lower will be reciprocally concave. It will move around transverse axis only, hinge or gyngimus. Transverse axis, so there will be flexion and extension. Only movements are flexion and extension. Example of hinge or gyngimus, which you have to note down. The example will be interphalangeal joints. Once again, the interphalangeal joints. So, interphalangeal joints. This is the very strong example of hinge variety or gyngimus. These interphalangeal joints will move in flexion and extension only around transverse axis. And other examples of hinge or gyngimus will be, along with interphalangeal joints, there will be elbow joint and ankle joint. Very important. So please note down here, elbow joint as well as, I'll write here, ankle joint. Elbow joint as well as ankle joint. So here we finish the hinge or gyngimus variety. Example will be the interphalangeal joints across the phalanges of the feet and hand, then elbow joint and ankle joint. Hinge or gyngimus variety is over. Now we come across to pivot or trochoid. In pivot or trochoid there is one pivot.
Okay.
So therefore, pivot or trochoid definition. Pivot means there is a pivot, a bone forming the pivot, which may remain stable or which may move around which there will be osteoligamentous ring. One pivot and one osteoligamentous ring. Now, examples. It will be better to understand by describing the examples. Atlantoaxial joint and radioulnar joint. First we take atlantoaxial joint. The joint between atlas and axis, in which dens of the axis will remain stable, and around which the osteoligamentous ring, which is formed by anterior arch of atlas and transverse ligament of atlas, will rotate. This is an example of pivot joint. So here I will just write down this pivot joint. The example will be atlantoaxial joint, and in this atlantoaxial joint, the pivot which is formed by dens or odontoid process of axis will remain stable. The pivot which is formed by the dens will remain stable. Dens means the process, odontoid process of axis. And the osteoligamentous ring, which is formed by the anterior arch of atlas and transverse ligament of atlas, will rotate around it. Second example of pivot or trochoid in which the mechanism will be reversed to this is radio-ulnar joint. Now here, the pivot which is formed by the head of radius, will rotate. It will not remain stable, it will rotate around a fixed osteoligamentous ring. And which is that ring? The ring which is formed by annular ligament of ulna and ulna itself. That ring will remain stable, but the pivot which is formed by the head of the radius will rotate in radio-ulnar joint. So these two are strong examples of atlantoaxial joint and radio-ulnar joint. They are strong examples of pivot joint, or it is called trochoid joint. Then we come across to third category, condylar joint. Now these condylar joints, their articulating ends of the two bones will be condylar in shape. The articulating ends of the two bones will be condylar in shape. So it is called condylar joint. And these condylar joints, right here, condylar joints, they are also known as modified hinge joints. Sometimes you get a 1 mark question answer or MCQ. What are modified hinge joints? What are modified hinge variety of synovial joints? They are nothing but condylar joints. Now these condylar joints, example of condylar joints will be the knee joint, where there will be condyles of femur and condyles of tibia in articulation, and there will be example of TM joint. And what is TM joint? Temporomandibular joint. So therefore, here we finish the condylar variety. Now, before we finish, pivot joint, I forgot to tell you, pivot joint, there is a vertical axis. The movement is around vertical axis. Hinge variety, which I already discussed with you, transverse axis, the movement is around transverse axis. In hinge, flexion extension. Pivot, vertical axis, rotational movement. And condylar, once again, transverse axis. So therefore, these are the three varieties: hinge or ginglymus, pivot or trochoid, and condylar variety coming under uniaxial joints. Now, biaxial joint. In biaxial joint, what we'll classify will be, this biaxial is classified into two basic categories. And what are those two basic categories? They are, number one, ellipsoid joints, and number two, saddle joint, the saddle variety. Ellipsoid variety and saddle variety. Ellipsoid joints and saddle joints, they are known as. They come under the classification of biaxial joints. So therefore, now I will create some space once again here, or else we will just write down biaxial joints. These biaxial joints, what are the characteristic features? Biaxial joints will have 2-degree freedom of movements. That is, they will move around two different axes. So therefore, the movements possible at two different axes, and these two axes will be transverse axis and anterior posterior axis, will be flexion, extension, abduction, adduction. Flexion, extension, abduction, adduction. These are the movements which are taking place at two different axes in biaxial joints. And they are classified into ellipsoid variety and saddle variety. So ellipsoid. In case of ellipsoid joints, the articulating margins, the articulating surfaces will be very interesting. One side it is convex and elliptical, and opposing side it is concave and elliptical. Once again I'll repeat, the articulating surfaces in ellipsoid joint will be on one end it is convex and elliptical, other end it is concave and elliptical. And examples of elliptical joints where there is possibility of flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, they are very strong examples. They are metacarpophalangeal joints, metatarsophalangeal joints. Please note down, metacarpophalangeal joints and metatarsophalangeal joints, where there will be two axes of movements. On transverse axis, flexion, extension, and on anterior posterior axis, abduction and adduction. And also there will be atlanto-occipital joint. This is also included, atlanto-occipital joints. These are also asked in MCQs or 1 mark question answer. Atlanto-occipital joints, they are a variety of A, B, C, D. One of the options will be ellipsoid variety, ellipsoid type of joint. And the last example, which is very important, is known as radiocarpal joint or wrist joint. So here, please note down radiocarpal joint or wrist joint. So these four different joints, metacarpophalangeal joint, metatarsophalangeal joint, radiocarpal joint or wrist joint, and atlanto-occipital joint, they come under the category of ellipsoid joint. Please, you have to remember all these joints because they are asked in 1 mark question answers or in MCQs. Then we come across to the second category of biaxial joints, saddle variety, the saddle joints. Now these saddle joints, what are their articulating surfaces? The articulating surfaces of saddle joints will be, it will be reciprocally concavo-convex. One side it is concavo-convex, the other side it is convexo-concave. Reciprocally concavo-convex. This is how you have to write down. That is, the articulating surfaces of saddle joints are reciprocally concavo-convex. Simple. Examples are very important. Here you have to mention two different examples. The first very important example is carpo-metacarpal joint of the thumb. The carpo-metacarpal joint of the thumb. The carpo-metacarpal joint of the thumb. And second example is sternoclavicular joint. The sternoclavicular joint. So here we finish our biaxial joint, biaxial variety. Now we come to polyaxial. Now in polyaxial, there will be 3 degrees of freedom of movement, and these 3 degrees will be around transverse axis, anterior posterior axis and vertical axis. Once again, the 3 degrees, the 3 axis will be transverse axis, anterior posterior axis and vertical axis. So therefore, the movements which are possible will be flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, circumduction and rotation. Once again I repeat, flexion, extension around transverse axis, then abduction, adduction around anterior posterior axis, and circumduction and rotational movements, around vertical axis. So therefore, polyaxial joints. Example of polyaxial joints. Polyaxial joints are also known as ball and socket variety or spheroidal joints. So here you can write down ball and socket variety, or they are known as spheroidal joints. And the examples of these ball and socket variety or spheroidal joints are, why they are called ball and socket? Because on one side there is a socket-like cavity, on the other side the opposing articular end of the bone will form a head-like feature which will move around within the socket. An example, very strong examples, they are the hip joint between the head of the femur and acetabulum of the acetabular cavity of the hip bone, hip joint and shoulder joint. They are examples of ball and socket variety or spheroidal joints. And once again, another 2 examples which are routinely asked in 1 mark question answer or in MCQ, they are joint which is present in the foot, and that joint is talocalcaneo-navicular joint. So please note down, the talocalcaneo-navicular joint which is present in the foot, talocalcaneo-navicular joint, is an example of ball and socket variety of synovial joint. And lastly, the smallest joint which is present in the middle ear cavity, the joint between incus and stapes. So write down the joint between incus and stapes. This is also asked in MCQ. Smallest variety, joint between incus and stapes present in the tympanic cavity, is a variety of restricted ball and socket joint. So what is the name given here? Restricted ball and socket variety of synovial joint. Example, between incus and stapes. Where? In the middle ear cavity. So here we finish with polyaxial joints. Now plane joints. In the plane joints, now I'm having here space. The plane joints, they are formed between the flat articulating surfaces of the 2 bones. So plane joints are formed between the articulating surfaces of the 2 flat articulating surfaces of the 2 bones, Examples will be, very strong example, intertarsal joints present in the foot, intercarpal joints present in the hand, joints between the various carpal bones in the hand, and the joints between the various tarsal bones in the feet. And the facet joints. What are these facet joints? Facet joints are the joints which are present between the articular processes of various vertebrae. In the vertebral column, in between the various articular processes, the joints which are present between them, they are known as facet joints, and they come under the category of plane joints. And whatever the movements of plane joints, they exhibit gliding type of movements. So please note down, plane joints means gliding type of movements. What are gliding type of movements? When one particular bone will move on the surface of the other bone, that is known as the gliding type of movement. So this gliding type of movements, when one bone will move on the surface of another bone, is a feature of plane variety of synovial joint. So here we finish the entire classification of synovial joint. Now after finishing this classification, we will discuss a very few important points regarding the movements of synovial joints which you need to understand. What are the total movements of synovial joints which are present in the human body? The total movements will be based in 4 categories. And what are those 4 categories? For example, here I will rub this so that I get more space. The 4 different categories where we get these movements will be, number 1, the first movement of synovial joint is gliding movement, and gliding movement is possible in plane variety of synovial joint, which I have discussed with you. So the movements of synovial joints in human body, first is gliding movements, which I have discussed with you. Plane, they are present in plane variety of synovial joints, gliding. Second, very important, angular movements. And what are angular movements? These angular movements will be around 2 different axes, transverse axis and anterior-posterior axis. Angular movements around transverse axis will be flexion and extension, and around anterior-posterior axis will be abduction and adduction. So therefore, those joints which have the presence of these movements, flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, they come under the category of angular movements. So therefore, now, once again, one more question answer. All the movements of abduction, adduction will take place in anterior-posterior axis except the abduction, adduction movement of the carpo-metacarpal joint of the thumb. The carpo-metacarpal joint of the thumb, the abduction, adduction is not in anterior-posterior axis, but it is in transverse axis. Please note down. So the carpo-metacarpal joint of the thumb here, which has abduction, adduction, will be on a transverse axis. It will not be in anterior-posterior axis. Whereas for the fingers or toes, the abduction, adduction movement, or the wrist joint, abduction, adduction movements, the axis will be anterior-posterior. So angular, where 4 different movements are there, flexion, extension, abduction, adduction. Then third category will be circumduction. Circumduction. Circumduction movements will be when there is a combination of flexion, extension, abduction and adduction all together. All the 4 angular movements, when they take place at the same time, resembling, it will resemble a cone. It will resemble a cone when the 4 movements are taking place in the same manner, flexion, extension, abduction, adduction. When they take place in a sequence, all the 4 angular movements, then those movements are called circumduction movement. They resemble the axis of the cone, the base of the cone and the axis of the cone. And fourth, the last category of movements in synovial joint will be rotation. And this rotation movement will be on a vertical axis, medial rotation, lateral rotation. Rotation movement on vertical axis. Now, 2 more terminologies which may be asked in one more question answer, which you have to understand is adjunct movement, and second is conjunct movement. Adjunct movement means the movement which is taking place in a synovial joint by active contraction of the muscle. Directly the active contraction of muscle is taking place and the movement is produced or the movement is possible in a synovial joint because of active contraction of the muscle, adjunct movement. For example, there will be rotational movements which are occurring at the hip joint, shoulder joint. So they are examples of adjunct movement. Hip joint, shoulder joint, rotational movements. All the rotation movements which are occurring at the hip and shoulder joint, they are example of adjunct movements, direct active movements because of active contraction of muscles. Conjunct movements means passive movement of the joint because of some other actions. For example, passive movement of the joints, passive contraction of the joint occurring because of the movements or contraction of the muscles. For example, here knee joint. In the knee joint, whatever rotational movements are occurring in the knee joint during flexion and extension or during the extreme phases of locking and unlocking of knee joint, that is the extreme cases, the extreme phases of flexion and extension. So during locking and unlocking of knee joint, which routinely occurs during the extreme phases of flexion and extension, at that time there will be slight rotational movement occurring, and that rotational movement is because of not contraction of muscles but because of the articulating surfaces and various ligaments. So here conjunct rotation means there is already contraction of muscles which have to produce flexion and extension movements of the knee joint, that is locking and unlocking of the knee joint. But because of these movements and because of articulating surfaces of the knee joint and various ligaments, there will be passive movements which are occurring, and those passive movements are rotational, slight rotational movements of the knee joint. They come under the category of conjunct movements. So the slight rotational movements of knee joint occurring during the actions of locking and unlocking is known as conjunct movement, and that is because of their articular surfaces and various ligaments. So here we finish the classification of the entire synovial joints. Thank you very much.